The big game is fast approaching, but wait, you still haven't got your tickets. You've spent hours searching, but you're still confused about ticket prices. Time to stop searching. Visit ticketcompare.com. We compare ticket prices for all the popular leagues and tournaments for you. We work only with the most trustworthy sites, so you can have peace of mind when buying your tickets. Compare prices, buy tickets, get to the game. Ticketcompare.com. Buying tickets made simple.
Afternoon. You what?
Not so bad, thank you.
Good. You ready? Sam, first of all, can we get your reaction to Paul Clement losing his job after the defeat at Goodison the other night?
It's not unusual anymore, is it? That if you run a games without winning, without picking up enough points, and the panic sets in that you may lose your Premier League status, then your position becomes threatened. I think that I'd have to say that Paul made a miraculous recovery with Swansea last season. He took over just after I took over Palace, so they've not been able to continue where they left off the back end of last season and find themselves changing the manager again, which, listening to the radio, is about the 4th or 5th time in December apparently, so I believe. So he's not been able to find enough goals and keep enough goals out, and it's cost him his job, so it's a shame.
Well, you're
young British manager, making his way again,
I mean, while you're yourself on a good run of form, I suppose the attitude about this place is you still no position to relax just yet.
Well, not at all. I mean, there is 20 games to go and 20 games where we've got to try and if first continue our run of being undefeated, if that's possible, and to try and pick up as many points as we can. I think that there's no room for complacency, as I said before the Swansea match, and we certainly saw that with our first half performance when we nearly came in at 1-0 down and we hadn't played that well. So there's still a long way for us to develop and play and get better. For me, while the results have been the most important thing and made us pretty comfortable, that our performances, I'm hoping, are going to continue to improve week in and week out, game in and game out, particularly with this massive period of, I think we've got 5 games in 14 days coming up, so the squad will be utilised accordingly with that demand.
So how will you work it over the days between, obviously, Saturday's game against Chelsea and then West Brom on Boxing Day? Will the players be in Christmas Day? What are the plans there?
Oh, you know full well the players are never in Christmas Day when I'm managers, so you know that very, very well indeed, because I've been doing it for 20 odd years and never bought a player on Christmas Day in my life. You know why?
Because to spend time with the families.
Because I hated it when I was a player. It was the worst thing ever, and I had to do on Christmas Day was to come in and train. It was a complete waste of time in my view as a player.
I just wondered whether you might have changed your view there, but obviously
no, I've not changed my view at all.
So what's your own plan for Christmas Day then?
To spend it with my daughter and grandchildren, I think that, and enjoy the day. And we trip off later on down to get ready for West Brom.
Obviously, as we're nearing January as well, there continues to be transfer rumours. Lamina Kone, the latest to be linked with Everton, possible £10 million deal.
What a shock that one is. I didn't think that one would come up, did you? Phil?
So is there any truth in it?
No, not at the moment. I think that it was one of the outstanding defenders that produced a remarkable run of performances when he first arrived at Sunderland to help that club stay in the Premier League. Then since then, I'm not quite sure what's happened to his career, but it's obviously slipped way down from where he was when he performed with me. So that puts a doubt about his ability to sustain that level of performance. So I'm not sure whether I would be interested or not. And to be perfectly honest, I found him to be not only a fantastic footballer but a fantastic lad when he was playing with me in that period of time.
So with regard to the players that you've got here, what did you learn from that behind closed doors game this week?
Well, firstly, the injured players getting a run out, including Ross Barkley, having a bit of a run out there, joining with training. James McCarthy joining in, Yannick Bolasie joining in. I think that that's very important that these lads are now beginning to train with us on a regular basis, and the rest of the players who have played in the squad to get a full 90 minutes under the belt to decide if and when we need them, where to put them in, and we will probably need a lot of the squad that we've got over the next 2 weeks with the amount of games that we have to play. So, we've seen them in it. It is a behind doors game, so it's not a full competitive game, but it gives us an idea about how they suit position and what position they prefer to play in. So it was well worthwhile, and I think that players like that would need more games of that type, because match games it relates to match fitness, and trying to keep them match fit will be very important indeed.
With regard to Ross, then, where's he at in terms of a possible comeback, I suppose?
I think early, if everything continues the way it is, early January.
And how hopeful are you then that you might be able to utilise him for the rest of the season, given this contract situation?
I don't think it's in our hands at the minute. It's in Ross's hands. I think that he knows the door is always open. If he wants to talk about staying, I think that's never going to be the case where the door is going to be shut. It's always going to be open. But whether he chooses that route or not will determine then. But then what happens, who knows, in January.
For some of the fringe players at the club, has there been any decisions made as to whether they're going to be allowed to leave in January? Or
I find that I think I'll wait until who comes in for who, rather than create speculation on who the people guess to try and I'm going to let go, and create the rumours that are always created in December and January, this window. So if a club approaches us for one of the players that's in the squad, we would have a discussion, take a view, and if we feel that is right for the club, then we would then ask the player if he would be willing to leave, and accept the opportunity to go and speak to the other club. So I think that way would be much better, rather than speculate on who I'm going to let go and who I'm not, because they then know that, or feel that there is no future for him, unless a player hasn't knocked on my door yet and say, Gaffer, you've got to get me away from here. So nobody's done that yet. But when somebody does do that, we take a view on it and more than likely accept what their view is.
You seem to talk about Wayne Rooney every week, but I just wonder, is it time that maybe Gareth Southgate should give him a ring and maybe try and persuade him to end his international retirement?
Ask Wayne.
What would be your view as his club manager?
Ask Wayne.
Does that mean you'd rather perhaps he stays away from the international? Oh no, is it beneficial then for a player to be out?
I'm not commenting.
It's beneficial for you though, isn't it?
I'm not commenting.
Fair. Morgan Schneiderlin spoke to us yesterday, and he spoke about winning fans back after the negative publicity that he's had in recent times. What are you seeing from him, and perhaps what more does he have to do for you?
Well, I'd like to see it, I think, from everybody a little bit more. I think I've got a little bit more over a short period of time. I'd still like to see even more. I would like to see Morgan hitting the heights of Southampton, and hitting the heights of last year's performances when he arrived. I think that would be. I think that would be the way Morgan would try and get back. I think he would try and use his peak performances, or get back to his peak performances as quickly as possible. So I think if we can help him with anything along the way, we would obviously do that, and our doors are always open to support what he wants to do to get back at that top level that he's played at before. He isn't quite there yet, but I think he's getting better and better, and getting more back towards his old self, and the quicker he does that, the better it is for everybody. So there's a lot of players whose performances have underperformed for one reason or another, but if this run doesn't give them confidence to get back to their best, I don't really know what more we can do, really. So hopefully that will come, and he will get selected more and play more and deliver more performances that we know we can.
What reasons did you see for Morgan's performances maybe dropping from what we've seen in the past?
Before I came, more than me being here, but I do see, like every other players, a safe. They want to play safe, the players, because they don't want to take too many risks, and because they don't want to take too many risks, we ended up with a negative football, if you like, and too many balls going sideways and backwards, and then too many mistakes are happening within the team, and then confidence drained. So you've got to take risks, calculated risks as a player, and those risks are a benefit to the team trying to get forward and trying to win football matches. And I was disappointed in the first half performance against Swansea by our negative passing, not just from Morgan, from the whole team. We seem to want to play towards the wrong goal with the amount of balls that Jordan Pickford was kicking. So turning that around in the second half, when we started to move the ball forward properly, we completely opened up Swansea, as we should have been doing in the first half. So it's positive football, positive passing. Morgan being a key member of that will get us going forward and get us in behind defences and hopefully scoring more goals.
What kind of statement do you feel you could make if you were to take 3 points against Chelsea at Goodison this weekend?
Well, it wouldn't be as important as the 3 points we got against Swansea, realistically, because we've just climbed our way out of that area, so that putting more distance between us and them is the first thing. What that has done is escalated us again one more place to play Chelsea, which gives us an opportunity to play against one of the top 6 teams in the country, which challenges every player to be the best they possibly can tomorrow. And then if that brings us a result, then I think that's an added bonus to what we've done already, as was the Liverpool result. I think that was a bonus from where we were, but sooner or later we would always want to be able to challenge anybody that comes along at Everton, and particularly at Goodison, whether it be somebody below us or somebody in the top 4 or 5.
What have you made?
But we're not there quite yet.
Yeah. What have you made of Chelsea then so far this season? It looks obviously 14 points behind City. The title's gone for them, perhaps.
I think I was listening to Antonio talking about they've only lost 1 in 8, drawn 1 and won the rest, I think. And, so I think that they're in a good vein, a good form of results at the moment. So he's talked about fatigue, which we all talk about at this time of the year, and yet fatigue can be overridden by mental strength. If the player's mentally strong enough to say, I'm feeling a little tired, but it's not going to affect me. If you have a positive mental attitude, you can overcome that fatigue and drive yourself forward. And we've got to try and do that against Chelsea on Saturday. And all of the 11 has to play the best.
No matter what
result. See, you can talk about systems as much as you want. We've got to play our best first.
And no Morata for them. Does that affect the planning in any way?
They play a different way. Obviously, don't play off him. Well, they've been playing Hazard up front. There's this new term that somebody came up with. I don't quite like it myself, but in fact, I'm not even going to say it. It's yeah, shut up. And I think that they interchange. It's again like a little like Liverpool on the front three. It's an interchange of movement and the rotation of movement that we have to be very wary of, and then be better passing the ball than we get when we get the ball, and try and be better passing the ball than when we played Liverpool. Be more like we did when we played Swansea in the second half, getting the opposition's box, getting their half and challenge their defence. I was just looking at the stats. I've been quite fortunate because I've won and beaten twice in my last 2 times. Once at Sunderland and once at Chelsea last year. So hopefully I'm a lucky omen for Everton tomorrow.
Sam, you've settled in nicely. You're climbing the table. You've got injured players coming back. You've 60 points to play for still in this season. How optimistic about things are you for the new year?
Well, my first is continue to stay in the position we are and make sure we secure a top half finish. this year. If by the end of February that we're doing better than or averaging around that, and then we can challenge or try and push for more depending on what the point system lie. But I mean, a top half finish is I think our first priority. Well, getting out of trouble was our first priority. I think we're not out of trouble completely, but we have accumulated a number of points that's put us in a very, very, very good position, but not good enough to feel too comfortable with, and that's my concern about the players switching off or taking it easy, where we've got enough points now that we can chill out a little bit more, and we just can't. We just got to keep driving ourselves on and trying to get as many points as we possibly can.
And you've been to hospital this week, you've been to the food bank. How much have you enjoyed that community work this week?
Well, there's if you can bring some smiles to some people's faces in hospital who are less fortunate than ourselves at the moment, then that brings obviously a little bit of joy to you as much as it does to them. I think that there's no doubt that the 6 groups of players and staff went around all day hospital, and one thing that strikes you is not just the sick children that you want to get better, but also the parent support that has to go with that, and then all the nurses and doctors that look after them in such a fantastic hospital. I mean, it's not just the people, but the facilities, everything everybody needs for somebody's child to get well looked after if they're sick. A lot of them are still hoping to get home for Christmas, and hopefully they will all, or as many as possible, get home for Christmas and enjoy it.
And in terms
on the other hand, food banks is extremely depressing that a country of this magnitude and where it thinks it lies in itself can allow so many food banks to be operating in this country. I think that but for the goodwill of the Liverpool people, and the fans have a big say at the food bank that we went to in helping donate food for people less fortunate than themselves or less fortunate than ourselves. I think is going back to the dark ages to allow that to continue. It's not only allowing it to continue, it's growing at a rapid pace where people who are in work, not just on benefits, cannot afford to live at a decent level and have to go to a food bank to feed themselves and their children. I think it's incredibly sad that a country like ours has allowed that to happen and will continue to allow it to happen. I think it's a disgrace. Apart from the people who actually do it and work in it, they're out of this world, absolutely top drawer.
And just on a reflective note, I reckon it's 25 years since you started off in management at Limerick. Can you reflect a little bit on
91.
91, 92?
Yeah.
How's the job changed?
I think massively when you get to this level. I think that you have to learn to live with whatever level you play at or manage at. So, and I was fortunate enough to go up the top of the league when I started, and then down the leagues because I wanted to play as long as I could. I adjusted to that level. In other words, I would not put my teammates in an awkward position that they couldn't deal with. So in other words, I wouldn't ask them to do what they're not so good at. So I would learn to live at whatever level I was playing and adjust to that level to continue to play football as long as possible. And I think that's management. I think you've got to set your standards, but not set the standards too high for the players that you're actually dealing with. And that comes from a lot of discussions with fellow managers or older managers over many years of coaching courses and management courses, and then you learn as you go on and you listen to what they say, and then you start moving up the leagues. But when you get to the Premier League, it becomes an entirely different set of management skills that you have to completely, for me, readjust those skills that you may have acquired. You still have them, you can still use them, but then the skills of dealing with media, social media, sponsors, community work, football players, agents, so on and so forth, fixtures, TV, pressure all around you, then that is a different set of skills then. So then your skills move to delegation. How good are you doing your job the best you can, but how good are you good at delegating to other people to carry on that work in their department and deliver a top rate, a top qualified service? If you feel you can do all that yourself as a manager at this level, you will put yourself probably in an early grave. Was that a decent answer?
Quarter century is a long time, though.
It is a long time. It's gone too quick, though. That's the trouble.
Still enjoying it today as much as you did on day one?
Yes, I think so. I think that because my life is not completely consumed by football, and because it's not a job that I need to do to survive or to pay the mortgage or look after the children anymore. It's to do it because I love it, and in the early days I was doing it because I had to live, and it's all I knew. So that was much more of a strive and a pressure than probably today's pressures are for me, because of the experience I've got with this level of football. There is not a lot I haven't seen, which is a great help, I think, for me, and hopefully a help for the players that I can pass that experience on.
Thank you.
Okay, guys. Just one hour now.
Is Yannick, is he totally ready now?
He's physically he's totally ready. I'd say that from a technical point of view, he'll be slightly still a little rusty, but we have to throw him in at some level and some stage, and the sooner we can do that, the better. So, you know, we're going to consider him to be on the subs bench tomorrow, and I think if that the case, we would like and try to get him on at some stage during the game. Hopefully, because we've got a result or getting a result.
James McCarthy?
Sorry?
James McCarthy?
No, not yet. James is training every day with the squad, but doesn't feel as ready as Yannick. So that's a player's decision, that he doesn't feel that with him being out as long as he's been, he wants a little bit more practice time with the players on a full-time basis.
Okay, guys.
Okay, thanks, guys.